Today on Alex Autos, we're out here in the forest taking a look at the 2015 Lexus RX 450h Hybrid 2-row SUV. This is a Graco Classic Ride 50 child seat, which means it's now time for our weekly child seat review segment. Now, the Classic Ride 50 seat is suitable for forward or rearward facing installation and for children between 4 and 50 pounds. Now, because the RX is not a small crossover vehicle, but it is still a 2-row crossover, we do have a decent amount of room on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and scoot this front seat up till I have about 2 inches of room between my knees and between the dashboard. You'll see that I do have an ample amount of headroom right here. I have about 4 inches of headroom, even though our model also has the sunroof. Now, with me sitting comfortably in that front passenger seat, I have absolutely no problem installing a rearward-facing convertible child seat right here in this seat behind that front seat. This isn't actually latched in, but it is at the proper angle as required by the little level on this child seat. If this was actually strapped into the seat, it would actually be pushed about an inch further rearward. So you can see that we really do have an acceptable amount of room between this child seat and the front seat. Keep in mind that whenever installing rearward-facing child seats, you do want about 1 inch to 2 inches of room between the front seat and between the rearward-facing child seat, because in the event of especially a rear-end collision, the front seat can move a decent amount rearwards and you don't want it to impact the child seat. Now, the RX is wider than some of the European crossovers with which this model competes. So something along the lines of the Audi Q5, the Volvo XC60, or the Mercedes-Benz GLK won't have nearly as much room across this rear bench seat as the Lexus RX. In fact, those vehicles are actually more similarly sized to the Lexus NX, which is one step down in terms of size from this. Now, what that really means to you is that I had no problem putting these 2 child seats across the rear bench seat and sitting over here on the left-hand side myself at 6 feet tall. This rear bench seat also reclines, which is a nice touch. This is the most upright position. We also have a more reclined position that makes it a little bit more convenient to sit right next to these child seats. The other takeaways back here are that the center child seat is actually sitting in the center of the rear bench seat. And I know that sounds a little bit silly to say, but in a lot of vehicles, because of the narrowness of the rear bench seat, you can't actually put a child seat right in the center. It's usually skewed off to one side or the other. Now, in terms of latch anchor count, the RX has 2 latch anchors, and that's for the outboard seating positions only. We don't have latch anchors for the center seating position, although we do have a top tether anchor for all 3 positions in this vehicle. Those top tether anchors are also fairly handily located because you can actually reach down and install them right here sitting next to the child seat because they're not all the way down on the floor in that cargo area. Aiding in cargo practicality is a center bench seat that's not just split 60-40 like your normal seat. It actually has another mode to it, and that is a 40-20-40 folding split. You can actually fold the center section all by itself. And thanks to the width of this seat, you can actually do that when you have a child seat over here on the left and over here on the right at the same time. That means you can fit longer cargo items in the vehicle and still have 2 child seats right here in the back. Now, logically, with all this space going on back here, I had no problem installing 3 child seats across the back. In fact, this is wider than a lot of full-size luxury sedans in terms of width across this rear bench seat. That means that I have a lot of room right here between this child seat and the door, which is ideal, especially in the event of a side collision, because you want somewhere for that side curtain airbag to go. Now, compared to those European competitors, we also have a great deal more cargo room back here right behind this rear tailgate, and that's just thanks to the overall size of the Lexus RX. The brand new Lexus NX model, which I should have in about a month or 2 for a complete review, is a little bit smaller than this, and it's actually about the same size as the Audi Q5, the Volvo XC60, the Mercedes GLK, and BMW X3. That means that the Lexus RX is in a slightly different category, and now that Lexus has that smaller NX model in the United States, it's more appropriate really to compare this with the likes of the Lincoln MKZ, the Cadillac SRX, and that Jeep Grand Cherokee, especially in the Summit trim, where it's just about the same price. Now, that comparison is all down to this cargo area right back here. I have a 26-inch roller bag right here. You can see it goes way far back here into this cargo area, again, because this is a very large and very accommodating cargo area. If you're looking for a 2-row crossover vehicle with the largest amount of cargo space available, this is definitely in the running. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 bags out so we can put the child seats in and see how well they fit. Now, as you can see, I had no problem fitting 3 child seats back here. In fact, these child seats will actually sit in this side orientation like this under the tonneau cover. So I can still close this tonneau cover and hide my cargo and my child seats and still have those child seats completely under that cover. Now, I can also fit several large roller bags in here. I suspect I can easily stack this 26-inch roller bag and the 24-inch roller bag in here if I really tried. That is, if I was any good at cargo packing. And stick them right in there, and I can of course still close the hatchback. Now, as much cargo space as you're seeing right here, you can actually improve things yet more by scooting that second row forward. It is a sliding second row seat, so you can move it forward and backward. You can move it further forward, and you can also tilt those rear seats up a little bit to a more upright seating position and get even more cargo space back here. When it comes to my child seat review, the RX scores incredibly well, even in this hybrid format, because the hybrid battery pack is actually positioned right there under that second row seat, so it doesn't really take up any cargo area. In fact, I still have a donut spare tire under this cargo load floor if that's something that concerns you. The RX also scores incredibly well when we compare this with the European competition in this category, because this is about a half step larger than something like the GLK, the X3, or the Audi Q5. Now, in addition to this massive amount of cargo room back here, we also have that second row that is very comfortable, easily able to accommodate an adult and 2 child seats or 3 child seats across the rear. In addition, the hybrid model that we're taking a look at right here got 26.5 miles per gallon so far during my week of driving. That's one of the most fuel-efficient mid-size crossover vehicles that's out there. Now, that high fuel economy means that the RX 450h is not just one of the most accommodating vehicles in this segment, it's also one of the least expensive to operate. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you want to know more about the 2015 RX 450h, then go ahead and click that subscribe banner at the bottom of your screen. You'll be taken on over to the subscribe section of my channel. It's also where you'll find the complete review of the 2015 RX 450h. You can also find me over at facebook.com/AlexandAutos, over at Twitter as AlexandAutos, and you can always email your questions to alex@alexandautos.com. I'll see you next week.